All right. So, my name is Greg. I'm the host of the Frying Pan. Today, we're just going to look into some subjects that are going on nowadays. Number one, we're going to start off with the big elephant in the room, the government shutdown. Sorry about my cat in the back. The government shutdown. It is now over. It's in the process of being over. Finally, 8 Democrats came to their minds and their senses and figured that this really wasn't working anymore. And was it ever really working? I don't think the whole thing here was for them to actually get anything from it, but to use it as more of an electoral thing for votes, basically gaining some more feed into the Democratic Party push. You know what I'm saying? So when it came time to vote, people were already amped up about it, and then the Democrats were just pointing fingers, saying the Republicans are doing this, the Republicans are doing this. Um, I think it was a tool, nonetheless. I don't really think they were looking to get anything out of it because I kind of hope they knew that they weren't going to really budge on it, even though the GOP does usually. But um, this time around, they really didn't move that much, and I don't think it was really used as like it was used as leverage, but not in the sense that we're thinking, as in like a them trying to do it for a good reason, right? I think it was mostly just for a pushback on the votes that kind of went in because everybody know there was a good amount of voting going on. Virginia, New York, our new mayor in New York City, Madani. He'll be talked about in my podcast with my friends. Um, I don't think a lot of it was actually meant for anything but to kind of help their voting stance. Besides that, I'm happy to say it's open. The subsidized are coming back to the people. People are able to actually get food stamps. They're going to have a Thanksgiving. That's always great, you know. Um, the health care, disability, military getting paid, government officials getting paid. It all definitely comes back to the whole thing of where it's for a good thing that it's coming to an end. But this also does raise an issue that I feel kind of strongly about because I'm not in the best place in my life, like financially, right? Um, it comes down to the point that we we have too many people abusing SNAP, uh, assisted living, everything, right? Because you got me, who I'm a single uh, income household. I make a certain amount of money, and that amount of money, even though I have 2 kids and a fiance that I also feed out of my income, I don't meet the requirements. But that doesn't mean anything else. It doesn't mean I'm like super ahead on bills. Nonetheless, I'm actually behind on bills, right? So it just goes to show that they're more willing to subsidize for people that don't want to do anything. And I think there should be more. I think it should be there to help the people that are actually wanting to do better and not the people that just want to live off the government. A lot of these subsidies were made from the Democratic Party, and they kind of use it as a weapon to make people more lazier. Because I mean, you give them what they want, they're gonna vote for you. You know, it's just one of those facts of, well, I mean, I'm getting paid for doing nothing. I'm getting my food free. I'm getting my rent paid, and this all things because, well, the Democratic Party. And as a Republican myself, more of a conservative person, I think they should be there, right? I do, um, but I think they should be there for the people that actually want to do better and not just sit on their ass all day. Because when it comes down to it, it's not fair to the people that are actually trying and that are struggling, right? I'm not going to say that somebody that's not working isn't trying, but the first way of actually putting an effort to help yourself is by helping yourself, not having somebody do it for you. Um, it's always nice if, for the people that are actually trying, maybe they get rewarded because they're trying to build to something more, not just trying to feed off the government their whole life, right? Um, I think, especially with food stamps, there should be like a rollback of saying like who deserves to have them. I come from New York, especially in my area. We have a lot of drug addicts that abuse the shit out of them. They go to every corner store over here and they just fucking sell them to everybody. They don't even actually use them. They use them for drugs, and that's a good amount of people in my area. Not gonna say that it's everybody, but there's a lot. You know, it's a shame. I mean, overall, there's people that can actually use them and want to use them the right way, but then you have these people that are out here that go buy a bunch of waters with them and return the water bottles, or they go to a corner store and sell them for half off. It, there's no reason why it should be like that. Used to the subsidized used to be there to help the people to get on their feet. Now it's there to help people live off the government. Um, all right, and I'll go back to it. So we'll just recap here a little bit. So, government shutdown, great, it's over. I just think there should be more restrictions on what comes from it. It's not like the military pay, more like just like the subsidizing for the actual like government, the government plans to help the people. I think there should be more requirements of like, even though you do hit that threshold of how much you're getting, maybe it should still be allowed for some, just because you see they're actually trying, but they might be a little bit behind still, just because they're in that gray area. I don't think that everybody that is under that requirement of money should be able to get them. I think there should be more of like an investigation. Like, are you actively trying to do something? Are you actually trying to like better your life? I don't think it should be something. I just got a bit in my arm. I don't think it should be something that's just okay. Well, you're under 38,000 a year. Congratulations, you got food stamps, right? I should be something as long as line. It's like if you're making more than that 38,000, but if you have four people and you're actually trying, but you're behind on your bills because you have so many bills, maybe there should be more of a wiggle room for those type of people and not just give it to the drug addicts that want to live off the government and sit at home and do nothing. And yeah, because I'll leave that for a different video. I'll just leave it at that. I think the subsidize for the civilians should be well more looked into. Requirements should be a little different, and I feel like it should be more just to help people in rough situations, not people that just want to stay in the rough situations, right? Um, and besides that, we'll go on to the next topic here. Um, Sydney Sweeney. She's not even political or anything like that, and lately she's been getting pulled into a lot of things. Just mostly because, well, I think everybody heard about it, but the Gene commercial, and then she just had a interview not that long ago. I think it's like 2 to 3 days ago. Um, and basically she just had a movie come out, and it's not doing so well. It's just because people aren't going to watch it. But everybody who's gone to watch it is saying it's actually pretty good, and people are trying to blame Sydney Sweeney for basically killing the movie because of the interview. I think she did the right thing here, is because the woman that was interviewing her was trying to ask like, what was the higher motive for that actual like commercial, and she didn't understand, or at least she said she didn't understand, right? And that she just bluntly comes out and says to like Sydney Sweeney, like, "Hey, I'm gonna give you a chance here. I'm gonna recap my own words, but she's basically like, "Hey, I'm gonna give you a chance here to basically say you're ashamed of being a white woman and basically say sorry for being racist, um, and basically feel bad that you are a white person and you're privileged. And it just, she didn't really play into it that much. She just kind of looked disgusted on her face, and she was like, basically saying, "I like jeans," right? So not everything has a ulterior motive at all. I know the commercial says Sydney Sweeney's got good genes, but I mean, she does. I mean, she's a good looking woman, and she's like pretty fit to fit that line. I think that's why it was like that. And also, it's just them promoting their own genes, like saying that they got good genes. I don't understand. I know it's that whole thing is because, well, she's blonde and white with blue eyes, but it doesn't mean nothing, right? It does not mean nothing at all. I mean, blue eyes is actually a sign of incest somewhere along in your family. So I can't say it's actually good genes, right? It's not. It's kind of the opposite. um, I just don't understand why she's getting so much backlash, and she kind of just kept her like away from that. And a lot of people are trying to say it's her fault, basically that her movie's doing terrible. I don't think that's really her own fault. I think it's like the movie promoters' fault. I didn't see really much anything on the movie being released. I didn't even know when it is being released. I know it's already released, but I didn't know when it was going to happen. I didn't see any commercials for it, nothing like that. Are you kidding me? Her Gene commercial was bigger than her movie commercial. So, overall, I don't understand why she's getting so much backlash from that. Um, everybody just wants to have a problem with everything nowadays, and it's sad. People just can't live their life anymore. There's always like a bigger picture, as you could say, and that's not always it. Sorry, I just got done working a 12-hour shift. A little tired. Um, Also, um, there is also something that I don't think, or I never thought I would hear, is Donald Trump wants to import 600,000 Chinese kids into the school programs over in the United States. I see why he wants to do it, but for how much he stands against, like, protecting the American dream and everything like that, it kind of doesn't make sense for his views. But in a businessman of what he was before, I could see why he would want to do it. It would bring in a lot of money. It would bring in basically better people into our country, um, that could excel. And basically, he only wants to take the best 600,000 kids. But if you take the best 600,000 kids, you're also going to take their family. So that's going to round up to anywhere from 1.2 to even 2.4. Um, 1.2 or 1.8, just because, if they have one parent, two parents, and also they may have brothers and sisters. So it could be a lot of people, right? You're taking those 600,000 kids, but then you also got to take in the parents, the siblings. Um, so I don't know. It is one of those things where, because he is deporting illegal immigrants, right? So he is making room in the healthcare system, but him bringing in all those people could kind of reverse those. But he's only doing it once and not every year, and not letting 20 million, roughly 20 million illegal immigrants in the matter of 4 years in. So it could be a difference. It could be a difference. I see the vision of him wanting to basically help the school, uh, the schools to become better. As he said, it's not only just for the kids to come here, but it's also to benefit us, because it would go ahead and benefit our school systems and he's not lying. He's not. He's definitely not. It's just one of those things of a lot of people are giving him backlash because he's been so strong viewed on these type of things, and people really didn't see this one coming. And I mean, he even had the interview on Fox. And this is where this all came from. She was kind of slamming him with questions just because she was like, "How can you say this when you've been so against it?" And I get what she means, right? I mean, I do. I definitely do. It's kind of mind baffling, right? I mean, overall, and he doesn't like China that much, but I guess he doesn't like the French either because he wasn't talking too well about them at all. Because she brought up like, well, it's China, they steal our technology, which they do, and she was saying a couple other things, and she said, well, why not some French kids? And he was like, you think the French is nice to us? And she said, well, and he said, I don't think none of them are nice to us, but we're doing this because some of the best people come from China, which, I mean, overall, they do have a very big population, so it's not surprising. But good people come out of everywhere. But I see his I see his plan. I see his view, right? But I also see other people's too, because I wouldn't say I'm MAGA at all, but I could see why MAGA is upset, because it's not kind of playing on the role and what he ran for. It's kind of a little bit completely opposite in a little area there overall, but it could help. It could do what he wants it to do, kind of just like the tariffs. Everybody's been shitting on them, but I think they've been doing pretty good. Overall, for me, I've seen groceries drop. It's because, well, I'm not getting a bunch of bougie crap, but eggs are down to $1.98 compared to when they were almost $10 a carton just almost a year ago. Gas is down just from last year by 12%. That's a pretty big number. And the summer prices were also at an all-time low, and I don't know how many years, but the tariffs are doing something better. And even now, with it going into winter, which prices always drop during winter, but they do seem also to be going down for gas too. I do get what everybody's saying is like you're not going to feel the tariffs until a year after, but then in about 2 years after that, it could all change also because more jobs are coming in, helping the actual community, making more jobs in America, making more companies to basically build factories and stuff here so it could give people more jobs and more opportunities. So I do see the vision on that, and I have trust in that vision. That's one thing that I can say, because when you look at it, it's not like it's a strange policy. Other countries put tariffs on us all the time. When you look at it, Canada was putting almost a 200% tariff on farmers, and we've been just allowing it this whole time. And other countries have been putting tariffs on us too, but when we're sending things out to people, we don't do it no more. And finally, we had our president who was like, that's enough. It's time for you guys to start paying back to us and not the other way around. And I don't see anything wrong with that. I really don't. Why is it that we're the biggest country in the world, we help everybody else, but we don't even help ourselves? I see the tariffs as one of those first steps in actually helping ourselves. The more money we take in from the other countries, the more money we have for the U.S. citizens. The more money we have for the U.S. citizens, the more money we have for the economy. And what does that do to inflation? It actually drops it, right? That's why war is so good, supply and demand. But instead of supply and demand here, it's kind of more like we're just getting supply, you know? and there is no need for demand in this time because it's actually currency. So it's increasing the money we're getting in. So it's going to help overall with the inflation of the actual economy. So I mean, I see the vision on that. I trust that. I really do. I think it's going to be a lot better. I know it might get tough, and it's one of those things. You might have to take 2 steps backwards to take 1 step forward. You might have to hurt for a little bit to become better. I mean, you could sit here and say that sounds contradicting from with you and the government shutdown, but overall, the government shutdown was different. They were purposely being held hostage for no good individual, but their own selfish reasoning. And they didn't want to actually help the people. They wanted to help themselves, right? They say the healthcare, but nothing got solved with the healthcare. And as soon as the elections are done, then the government opens back up. Now they're ready to do it. I call bullshit, right? I call bullshit. That's something I call bullshit on. So it's not the same thing at all, right? I would rather have to take 2 years of being in pain. So maybe the economy in the next 2 years after that could shoot up because there's more jobs opening, more currency coming in, making new trade routes like with Malaysia and Cambodia. We're starting to get more places to make these farmer trades. That's not just with China and Canada. We're getting actually a reason to actually spread out and get our resources elsewhere, and hopefully that can all start coming from in America too. But when it comes down to it, America in some areas aren't the best to grow, especially like New York. It's way too hilly. Arizona's way too hot, so is Texas. Florida's humid, so every place in America, you can grow separate shit, like how Florida grows its oranges, but there is orange season. Once it starts hitting winter, they're not growing nothing like that no more because it all gets cold. Right? So I can see the tariffs as a good thing. I think it can move us into the right direction. So yeah, so I'll just take a little recap. So we talked about the government shutdown, Sydney Sweeney, surprising Trump wanting to import 600,000 Chinese kids. Kind of a weird one on that. I'm not going to call him a weirdo because I can see the vision. I just don't know if it's going to work as he thinks. And then, what was the last one, bro? It just took me by baffle. Just thinking about that. 600,000 Chinese kids he wants to bring in just because he wants the best of the best, quote unquote. But I could see the vision, but don't know if it's going to work. And speaking of that, the last topic was the tariffs. I do think in the long end that's going to help just because the economy is looking a little better. I know they say inflation is up, but inflation is also up very high this year. It's only up about a 3% more around this time. So, I mean, it's mostly up because of AI cost, and there was one other thing that actually increased the inflation a good amount. But AI has been a huge factor this year on inflation. And if you have questions about how it affects the inflation, it's kind of complicated because for the longest time I didn't think AI actually did any harm to the environment, but it does take a lot of power. It does cause rolling blackouts in some areas. So AI definitely does stuff to the, I'll say, quote unquote environment. But yeah, it's definitely messed up inflation a lot. It's a pretty big supporter this year of why inflation has gone up and not down. So, but besides that, I think that's all we got to talk about for this week. It was a little pretty good scooping. If you guys did enjoy, please leave a like, subscribe, and as always, I'll catch you guys in the next one, and that will be The Frying Pan. I do have one of the podcasts in the making right now. It is being edited as we speak. It's just overall, the last one we did last week got corrupted with the audio, so we had to redo the whole one. but this one is in the works. We should see this one probably drop on probably like the 15th. Then the next one will probably drop probably 7 days after, on the same day next week, basically, because we are making the next one just tomorrow night. So yeah, so I'm gonna finish editing this one tomorrow. After we do that, and then basically go ahead and post the old one, and then post a new one for next week. So it should all work out pretty well. I do want to say thank you guys once again for coming in and talking and just listening and hearing me out. I hope I made a little sense to you, especially about that whole Democratic ploy, basically how they use the shutdown as a encouragement or basically a backbone to their actual voting election time. And like I said, it is strange how basically overall, as soon as the vote stopped, government shutdown opened up. So, you know. But alright, guys. You have a good one. Please leave a like, subscribe, and do your thing.